I know Alistair loves this jingle, so I brought it back again. Welcome, Laziali, all over the world. Welcome to another episode of Lazio Lounge. Plenty of things to talk about because Friday, even though it seems a month ago, Lazio won against Genoa. And in a couple of days, there's Venezia Lazio. So plenty of things to talk about. As usual, it doesn't come, we just don't like celebrating a victory, right? We have to find things to discuss and to complain about, like what Acerbi did after his goal, because we don't like to take it easy. Life it's has to be complicated for us. So plenty of things to talk about, Alistair. Let's start from the 3 points against Genoa. First time Lazio wins without Ciro Immobile. First time Lazio score without Ciro Immobile. So that's a good start.
Yeah, did we win that match? We from the comments and questions we've got since we finished that game on Friday night, it does feel like we lost that game. I know what you mean. It's been quite a negative reaction. Obviously, we'll get to lots of the reasons for that and the off-field stuff, but I think as well, perhaps part of the reason for that is how bad Genoa are. I mean, my God, they are a really, really poor team. So beating them 3-1 actually feels like a missed opportunity that it wasn't at least another clean sheet. But you're right. I think the fact that they did it without Ciro is by far the biggest positive, the biggest talking point, because Felipe Anderson through the middle was, pretty ineffective when we played Juventus, as was Pedro through the middle. But I thought it was a lot better this time. Again, not absolutely brilliant. It doesn't seem like it's something that's necessarily going to always work against much better, higher level of opposition. But I think it was a huge improvement on what we saw before.
Yes, I agree. I don't know. The chat is not working. So GM, we saw your message, but I cannot put it online for some strange reason. But yeah, we're going to read your message. I would say first half, not great. Lazio was making a lot of mistakes, especially in the midfield. In the second half, Lazio started playing better. And Luis Alberto came in. He had a good performance. And Lazio find a way to win. The other thing, though, Alistair, very disappointed, for me at least, was conceding a goal to Genoa. The moment Patrick came in, I knew that this was going to happen. But come on, guys. I mean, I didn't check how many goals did Genoa score in the last month or so, but I think there were, just a few, and we were able to let them score. So, yeah, another disappointing thing.
I feel like that image of Murici and Patrick at the touchline, like about to come onto the pitch, that should become like a meme now for, the moments preceding unfortunate events. It was just it was quite funny at that point, wasn't it? Because Lazio were already 3-0 up when they're in charge when Patrick and Murici are coming on together, and the crowd were just kind of like, it was probably the loudest noise the crowd made all night, was kind of like waiting for the build up to those two coming onto the pitch so that they could boo them, basically. Which is a bit of a shame, I have to say. Murici's shot, he took a shot that went over. That was another one up there with the biggest noises of the night. But yeah, I mean, it was it was frustrating because Genoa, I mean, to put that in context, in the 6 games since Shevchenko came in, they've only scored 2 goals, and that was one of them, and they've not exactly always been playing huge teams either. So it's really, really poor on Lazio's part to let that happen, even though, yes, it's a consolation. It didn't really matter. I know you were angry at me for saying that the game was over, and but even Genoa, I mean, even Lazio can't throw away a lead that big against Genoa.
No, I experienced worse things. So, After Genoa scoring and with Patrick on the pitch, I said, we have a huge chance to draw this match. We have a huge chance. So, uh, and the other disappointing thing, Alistair, is that before that, Strakosha didn't make any save. I know Inzaghi was dying to say that, but, you know, no save from Strakosha for 88 minutes till that goal. So that's the other problem, right?
Well, there was one from Pandev in the first half, but it was a really weak
Yeah,
shot,
come on.
so I don't think it really counts. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean, it was Patrick. Well, it's not just Patrick, but it was just crazy how much time and space you leave a player with at the edge of the box. So, let the cross come in, take a touch, like have a look, get your shot away. I mean, pretty poor, but yeah, anyway, 3-1 win. You're right, Luis Alberto, to mention him as well, because I think that made a big difference for Lazio. When the game's at 1-0, even if Lazio are in charge, you're always giving the opposition a chance. So the fact that he came on and he was able to provide the kind of creativity needed to let Lazio pull away was big. The assist for Zaccagni's goal was delightful. I mean, the cushion outside of the boot volley. And then scoring from a corner, Vittorio. This is
Finally,
something we've complained about before. It doesn't happen very often. And he didn't shoot this time. He actually, crossed and we scored a goal.
the thing I don't understand, Alistair, is that at the beginning of the season, we scored like twice on corner kicks. And we were talking, finally, things change. We have schemes, etc. And then they stopped. They stopped. Don't know for which reason. And most of the time, it wasn't Luis Alberto's fault because Cataldi took corner kicks, Basic took corner kicks, and so on. And we were wasting chances. And now, finally, we scored. And I think this leads up perfectly to what happened after the celebration. Oliver Field is asking why people lost respect in Acerbi after an interview he did while being away with the national team. Well, Phil, that's just one part, I would say, Alistair. I have to be honest, I was at the stadium and I didn't see it, but it looks like there are images of Acerbi silencing the Curva Nord. I don't know for why. I don't remember fans booing Acerbi. But Alistair, that doesn't make any sense at all. It looks to me that Acerbi is really in huge confusion.
Yeah, I mean, all we have to go off really from this is kind of what he says after the game about the fact that that of course the players aren't happy in the dressing room about the position that the club are in and so on. And I don't know, it's a strange one. I think that we don't know what's been going on. You never quite know, especially with players like Acerbi who are quite present on social media. You never quite know what's happening in their lives, like what kind of messages they're getting from people, what kind of abuse they've perhaps been getting from people or whatever. But regardless of that, to turn around and shush the only handful of fans who've actually bothered turning up does not seem like the most professional or sensible reaction at regardless of the situation. And I think as well, if it's like a response to criticism, he's just way off. He's way off. I mean, you can't be a member of that Lazio defense and then go and score a goal against bloody Genoa of all teams, who are dreadful, and then be like, well, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm the best.
Team, I mean, Lazio have only conceded, I think, 3 or 4 goals less than Genoa this season. So the defense has been a disgrace. The team started that night in mid-table. It's not like it's not like a huge response to the critics to beat Genoa. I'm sorry. So if that's the reason for it, he's way off. But I'm not entirely sure if it is or not.
Plus, Alistair, you are a central defender. Your job is not to score; it's to avoid the other team scoring, which you clearly are not doing, because against Sassuolo, you were on the other side of the pitch while Sassuolo was scoring. And we have to admit that in the last 6 months, at least, the performance of Acerbi have been dropping. I don't remember a match where I said, okay, this was a great performance from Acerbi. So, and it's part of your job, right? I, as part of your job is to take my jokes, part of Acerbi's job is to take criticism from fans, from journalists, from whoever. That's part of you getting huge amount of money, just like Acerbi. You take my jokes. Acerbi is getting a high contract. He has to accept criticism. It's part of the job. So,
Yeah, of course.
you know,
And obviously there are limits always, and there's always a line that shouldn't be crossed and so on.
and I don't think we crossed it, honestly.
But if it's just normal criticism, then
Yeah.
of course that happens. And he's 33 years old or 34 years old by now. He should know all about that. He has been kind of like showered in love a lot of the time in his early years in Lazio, so perhaps it's kind of as the attitude starts changing towards him, to what his performances and the way Lazio have defended in general, perhaps he finds that harder to deal with. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, there's absolutely no debate that fans have a right to be unhappy about the way the team's been defending and some of the results they've been getting this season. And on top of that, well, I mean, yeah, I think that's it basically. You're going to get criticized, and you got to suck it up. And it's a stupid way of falling out with people. We should say he has apologized. He came out after the match pretty quickly and said, that it was a gesture he didn't mean, and he was caught up in the moment and all this kind of stuff. So,
yeah, but you're a professional player, right? You should be used to that. So, I don't know. I think he understood he made a huge mistake and that his life could have become more complicated without apologize. But
he also had a bit of a dig at the number of fans in the stadium, didn't he?
Yeah,
he said it's like similar to when COVID was on.
Yeah.
That's of course that's a problem. But if you want more fans to turn up, start playing better. That'll help.
Alistair, I think his comments in the last 6 months or so have been, alien coming from another world. I mean, it looks like he's not part of the team or he's coming from somewhere else. It's 6:30 of a Friday afternoon with full price tickets, while Roma is offering for the same price I bought the ticket Friday. Roma is offering you the next 3 matches. So this to give a little bit of context. There's no season tickets this year, so 6:30 Friday, a Christmas Friday in Rome, it's like a nightmare, to get it to the stadium. So
it's insane.
You should be applauding all the players that show up, all the fans that show up. And again, when was it? Against Sassuolo, he said that we created chances and we weren't good in scoring. You allowed too many chances. You didn't create that many. You allowed too many chances from Sassuolo. I mean, what the hell is he talking about? I think he's in a bit of confusion, and this is maybe reflects why he's playing so bad, because his mind is somewhere else. I don't know.
I think he's also someone who speaks his mind, and he doesn't necessarily have a filter, and that's a problem because I'm sure lots of players feel the urge to respond to criticism in fans or come out on social media and write something or say something in an interview or whatever, because especially if you're full of adrenaline and you've just played a game and you're quite emotional or on edge, as people often are around football matches, the temptation is always there, and it's kind of learning to control that a lot of the time, or how to say the right things. And we as journalists often complain about the fact that so many footballers say the same stuff. They say the same answers to questions, and it's quite boring a lot of the time, talking about, oh, now we're already thinking about the next 3 points and blah, blah, blah. And you hear the same crap answers all the time. But a lot of the reason that happens is because it's a way for these guys to be able to answer a question without giving away what they really think and just getting through the interview. And Acerbi doesn't really do that. He does kind of, if he's asked a question, he will generally say what he thinks. And that can be a really good thing because it gives you a level of honesty that other footballers won't give you. But obviously, then you get moments like this as well.
Alistair, we got some question, like Philip Pezzano is asking, what players are the essential needs of this team to arrive in January and which players are needed to remain? Well, unfortunately, usually in January, Lazio doesn't make a lot of transfer, right? I would be happy if we signed two players. That would be unbelievable. Uh, well, seeing Ciro missing a couple of matches, I would say the top priority is a Vice Immobile, as Muric is not playing it that much. Right? Do you agree with me? And probably a central defender.
I was going to say centre back, yeah, but I mean, where do you stop? We've kind of run through this before. It's pretty much anything. You could make an argument for it, and I'm not exaggerating, any position in this team that it needs reinforcement in order to improve the quality of the squad. And I mean, last week there are these ridiculous rumors from Turkey, I think it was, about trading Marici for Patrick Van Aanholt. And if that happened, that would be one of the greatest Iglitare moves, I think. I mean, it would be amazing convincing them to do that because we need another left back as well. But no, centre backs for me, I think, while we're on the case of Acerbi in the defence, I mean, I think it's a serious problem. I think it's a bigger problem for Lazio stopping goals coming in than scoring them. And Ciro or no Ciro, I think that's still the bigger problem in this team when it comes to getting results needed to kind of improve results in the second half of the season. Patrick being your third choice centre back just isn't good enough, really.
No. What do you make about Radu's performance? Because he came in left back.
Left back, yeah.
And that was exchange because, Sarri was trying all the time as central defender. I thought he played well. I thought he had a convincing performance.
He almost scored.
Almost scored. But again, he's a defender. He doesn't have to score. But yeah, it was an encouraging performance. I agree, Genoa is not a top team, etc. But, that could be a turning point for his season and for Lazio because at the moment we have three left or right back. It depends as you place them. With Radu could be four, so we could be in a better position right now if Radu starts on the left back. Though we again miss someone in central defender because at that point we will have Luis Felipe, Acerbi, and Radu and Patrick, and that's it. So, but I was impressed honestly and happy to see Radu playing because he deserved it, and every time he plays, he gives everything.
Yeah, he's kind of been creeping back into the picture, hasn't he? Where he was completely AWOL for the first few months of the season, and then played a couple of games at centre back. So yeah, it was interesting to see him come on at left back. Like I just said, there is no real depth at left back at all. So it's another option. We know that he's technically a good player as well. So I would have thought that he would kind of be up Sarri's street in the sense that he will be able to actually stay fairly calm with the ball at his feet, pick a pass, make good crosses, and actually he's not a kind of lump it up the pitch route one footballer. The problem is more physically. He's getting older. He's had injury problems in the past, which probably won't get any better the older he gets, and he's not really played in that position since before Inzaghi came in, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was a promising start. Obviously, again, limited opposition. Have to keep saying that, but it's another option. It seems like a sensible option to try out in a situation like that as well. It's quite encouraging that Sarri was trying things out in that situation because it's perfect.
Yeah. Can we mention that Pandev didn't score? And this is a huge news because every time he faces Lazio, he scores. So that's an improvement, I would rather say. And, I was concerned. Luckily, Caicedo didn't play because otherwise he would have scored as well. Fares didn't play. I mean, I could see Genoa winning with a hat-trick, Fares, Caicedo, and Pandev, which didn't happen. So that's encouraging, right?
Yeah, and Badel as well.
The only one who played.
Yeah, I mean, Pandev. Pandev was very quiet as well. I mean, they all were. It's that team did absolutely nothing for most of that game, really. But
Celeste Curve asked us, Luis Alberto looked visibly annoyed at the end of the final whistle. Do you think him not playing in the last few matches was due to injury or something else? Sari mentioned that he wasn't 100% fit in the past matches. I think on Friday it was because he saw Basic in a better condition, basically. But I think against Venezia, maybe Luis Alberto will start.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't notice him looking visibly annoyed.
No, neither did I, honestly.
But I guess we were there and not seeing
Yeah.
the TV pictures. So, yeah, I mean, he often looks annoyed, though, doesn't he? I mean, I don't think we need to read too much into that unless it's very, very explicit. But yeah, I mean, I think that the way Sari's been managing that situation has actually been, I've quite liked it, really, because he's kind of gone in and out of how he feels about Luis Alberto. But he's also shown twice now that by actually putting that kind of pressure on Alberto to perform, you do get more out of him. Whether it was originally, kicking him out of the team and saying he can't play with Milinkovic, and then he comes back in the team and starts playing his best football of the season, or leaving him on the bench for the last two games, fitness or no fitness, and then when he does come on, he's got a hell of a point to prove, and he does that by setting up the next two goals. So as long as Alberto doesn't work this out, that every once in a while Sarri will say, yeah, I'm not sure actually about you, 2 games on the bench, and then brings him back in, changes the game. But yeah, I mean, possibly points to consistency problem with Alberto, or, I've thought all along there's a bit of an issue with those guys being far too comfortable with their positions in the team. So it's a good way of motivating him, I guess. And yeah, I'd expect him to play against Venezia.
Talking about motivation, what happened to Felipe Anderson? Finally, we got him back. He played like number 9 against Genoa because Ciro was out. I thought our trio in attack was perfect. Zaccagni, another great performance. Felipe Anderson back finally, playing what we were used to see. And Pedro is always a great player. He's always in the right point at the right situation. So very happy to see Felipe Anderson back. Looking forward, do you think against Venezia, Felipe Anderson should be starting again instead of Ciro Immobile, who looks to miss again another match?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. There's no point in changing it at this point.
No chance for Rishi?
No.
No. Okay.
I mean, I think on top of all the other, the main reason of him just not being very good at football, it's the fact that it still took until, I can't remember what minute it was, but it took Lazio to be 3-0 up before Sarri was comfortable enough to even get him out there. So I just can't see that happening. I think the question would be more whether you put Pedro on through the middle and Anderson on the right again, like they tried against Juventus. But I thought actually Pedro was really good in the first half. He was Lazio's best player, and I think, I don't know, something about that attacking setup seemed to work to his advantage as well. And I think we got more out of him playing on the right than we ever have. Not that we've seen him through the middle a lot, but that's kind of surprising to me. I always thought that Pedro would be the alternative number 9, not Anderson. But he did a decent job.
Yeah. Were you surprised to see Patrick coming in? I mean, we're 3-0 up. I didn't see Luis Felipe limping, or he didn't get a yellow card. So why waste a substitution with Patrick? And maybe give a chance to Raul Moro or Luca Romero, someone else to test.
I don't know. It's this witchcraft that Patrick has over coaches. he always gets picked by coaches.
He must have something in the contract, right? He has to play a minimum of.
I don't know. Minutes. He's probably got like a hard drive full of, blackmail material for people in the world of football or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's funny because we've talked about this before, but I mean, he clearly has his limitations, but he is always very popular with coaches. And so, yeah, I mean, I think, I don't really get it either, unless Felipe just wants to rest him because he knows how important he is, how injury prone he is, and something like that. I don't know.
Yep. Alex Thomas is asking, is the transition from Inzaghi to Sarri harder than you thought? And do you think the owners will continue to trust Sarri and back him?
Sorry, you broke up there. I'm gonna have to get you to say that.
Where did you? Well, Alex Thomas asked, is the transition from Inzaghi to Sarri harder than you thought? And do you think that the owner, in this case Lotito, will continue to trust Sarri back him?
Right, yeah. Yes, okay, well, two parts to that question. The question where
Two questions.
Yeah, the question of will they continue to back him? Yes, because we've just seen Lotito at the Christmas party being very bullish about that and talking about renewing his contract and talking about how Sarri is a man who's passionate about football, and he seems to be a huge fan of him. So as long as Sarri is happy with that, then the club are definitely going to back him. And is the transition harder than we thought? I don't think it really is. I think people who have been listening to this podcast since the start of the season probably know that, because I don't think either of us were particularly positive that this was going to be an immediate, impact success, especially with the squad that we went into the season with. I don't know. Why don't you answer that part?
Yeah, well, I think we said it in August, right? We said it would take at least 6 months. So we're going to see a glimpse of Lazio Sarri, and then from January we're going to see an improvement, hopefully. I think an interesting quote what came from Sarri before this match. He said that the new signing are the one playing better. Basic, Zaccagni, Pedro, Felipe Anderson, because they don't have 5 years of Inzaghi football. That is completely different from his type of football. And it's not easy to forget everything you did in the past 5 years and start completely fresh. So obviously the new players have an advantage. I think players like Acerbi are a little bit struggling more than I would expect, and I think when they are struggling during a match, they go back to what they learned with Inzaghi, and this creates problems because it's the exact opposite of what Sarri wants. So we have to say honestly that Inzaghi is the complete opposite of Sarri. So you could see that they're gonna be a big problem, to the players to adapting. While Inzaghi and Conte are very similar, and you're seeing it with Inter, Inzaghi and Sarri are two completely different type of football, and you can see them. You can see players still struggling to understand what they have to do in various situations. So
Yeah, probably with the exception of our absolute best players like Ciro and Milinkovic, I think. Well, Milinkovic has had ups and downs, I'd say, but overall he's been okay in this system. I think the main issue has been the one that we spotted immediately, which was the fact that there's no midfield playmaker in the squad. And obviously starting off with Lucas and now with Cataldi. And Cataldi started so well in that role, but recently not so much. I thought
he's not very consistent, right?
Yeah. But against Genoa, he was really disappointing because it's exactly the kind of game you feel that he should be able to completely take control of, and his passing was all over the shop at times.
Yeah, especially in the first half.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we know what to expect from those kind of players, and it's not the level that's going to suddenly activate Sarri ball or, kick this team into another level.
Alistair, how funny it is that probably the player that best performing when he's on the pitch is the one that everybody said, Ciro Immobile cannot play in the 4-3-3. He cannot score in the 4-3-3. And, when he's playing, because now he has some injury problems, he's been terrific, as usual. Maybe even more than usual, I would say.
Yeah, it's almost as if it's more to do with the fact that every touch he takes is like booed by the entire nation of Italy when he's got an Italy shirt on.
Well, again, I think the biggest difference is Chiesa and Berardi are wingers who like to finish and not provide assists, while Felipe Anderson, Zaccagni are more able to provide the ball to Ciro Immobile. And so he has more chances, while in Italy, in the national team, he has none. So I think that's one of the biggest.
Yeah, I do agree with that as well. But I think I've always thought a huge part of Ciro's game is confidence, and he is quite, mentally, he is a player who wants that love and that support, and he has talked about that before as well. So I think the fact that he's going to feel more capable of doing things, he's going to back himself to do better things at Lazio than he does in Italy, because he's desperate to do it with Italy. But I think when that desperation creeps in, it almost makes things harder for you than it does in a Lazio shirt, because he knows he can make mistakes for Lazio, and they're not going to criticize him because of everything else he's done. Whereas when he's got an Italy shirt on, he knows that any mistake he makes will be roundly criticized by absolutely everybody. So I think that's a big part of it.
Alistair, we have a big question. Giacomo Colarullo is asking, I see a lot of volatility in the future with a lot of discontent from players. Where do you see this ending? I feel like we should be backing players and not Sarri. I totally disagree with that. I think big clubs have to back up the manager, not the players. And I think Lotito just did it, right? Confirming that he's going to renew the contract to Sarri. I think this is going to be a year of revolution. I don't know if Lazio going to sell key players in January, but I definitely see top players leaving in June to change the team and adapt it more to Sarri ball.
Yes. It's hard. Yeah, I mean, volatility is a good choice of word, actually, because I think that it feels like there's been a few of these kind of spark up moments, and even this week, the Christmas party with, who was it, 6 players leaving before Lotito had made his speech, and he was unhappy about that, and yeah, I think that there's a feeling. It seems like there's a feeling kind of in the hierarchy with Sarri coming in and so on, that the team does need kind of a refresh to move on from the players who had great success under Inzaghi, but also quite obvious flaws under Inzaghi as well, and into a kind of something very new. But that's always been the problem, and always will be the problem, is that that's going to take quite a lot of time and effort to be able to overturn that, to be able to actually build a new squad with new faces and new attitudes or whatever. I think, yeah, there's no point in hiring a coach like Sarri unless you back him. I thought it made no sense when Chelsea sacked him after a year. I thought it made no sense when Juve sacked him after a year, because you can't expect a guy who works in the way he does, who has the ideas he has, who has this obsession with coaching methods, you can't really expect him to just come in and be the quick fix solution. That's not the point. So I don't see Lazio doing that.
It's a long-term plan, Alistair. Can we say that? And
yeah.
On the other side, it's encouraging, right? Because you finally see Lazio having a long-term plan. Because in the last year with Inzaghi was, okay, we continue one other year and we see how things go. With Sarri, you need a 3-year plan at least. Because we're not Paris Saint-Germain. We're not going to sign 8 quality players this June. Probably we're going to, if we're lucky, we're going to sign 2 or 3. And then other 3 in the next summer, and then we're going to have a complete team for Sarri. So, and at the same time, I'm hoping that quality players will come up from the Primavera, because now we finally see some quality players coming from the academy. And so I think if we keep backing up Sarri, which I think fans should do, I think in a couple of years we will have a great team.
The one worry I've got, as you're saying that, is there was a long-term plan with Inzaghi as well, and he was at the club for a very long time, and most of that time he was playing very similar style of football that needed very specific types of components in it, and even then the club were making all sorts of disastrous transfer moves. I mean, they were unable to find a left wing back that entire time, and how many attempts did they take? The players like Murici made no sense for so many reasons, but chief among them was that Inzaghi had never played with that style of forward and attack anyway. There was no need for it. There was no point in it. So that makes it slightly more worrying as how, like, Sarri or no Sarri, is Tari capable of putting this team together?
Inzaghi often said that he has a big friendship relationship with Iglitare. I'm not convinced because you could see there was dysfunctional. You go and sign Vavro, who never played with a three-man defense. You go and sign Johnny, who never was able to adapt to a 3-5-2. He never played in the
Yeah,
3-5-2.
exactly. Yeah.
Why are you going to sign those type of players when you know
Adekanye, like, where is he going?
Adekanye, Pedro Neto? Why do you sign these players if you know that your manager will stick forever to the 3-5-2? Why do you sign players that are not fit for that scheme? You can see, though, Alistair, at least I'm feeling that you can see the change. Hisai was a Sarri player.
Yeah.
Who else did you sign?
Pedro Zaccagni.
Pedro is a Sarri player. Felipe Anderson is a Sarri player. You can argue that Basic probably is the only one Sarri didn't ask, but all the others came from Sarri. So I don't know if it's it's the first year, we're all friends, etc. Or this is the sign of the change coming.
Yeah. Well, that's what I think is so important, is that they do really listen to Sarri
Yep.
about this, because I think it's going to be really dodgy if we leave it in Tare's hands. Although, to be fair, Basic seems like a classic Tare signing from the Tare playbook, the kind of, Balkan footballer playing in a kind of lower European league. I think we can probably call France that, can we?
Yeah.
And
the good Tare, I would say,
good.
not the bad Tare.
Well, that's what I mean. But
Yeah.
Tare has made some sensational signings as well.
And I think we never mentioned Alistair, but Tare's contract is expiring this June. And there have been no sign of renewing or discussing about a new contract. So, Tare couldn't be the man anymore.
That would be a huge surprise. That really would be
so?
a huge surprise.
It looks to me the relationship have changed.
Unless, because I think a lot of Lazio fans have called him out in recent years how badly things have been going. But he does to me, I don't know about you, but he does to me still seem to have a pretty good reputation in general Serie A circles. The way people talk about him as a sporting director. So I think that might only really happen if it's if he's tempted to Inter. I mean, it's always Inter, isn't it?
Juventus could be an option.
Or another club comes and gives him a job offer.
Don't know, because he still didn't renew the contract, and usually this happened way up before the expiring date. So I think the relationship with Lotito have changed a little bit, but we're gonna.
Then again, nobody's been given a new contract.
Not yet.
Yeah,
it takes time with Lazio, right?
Yeah, well, remember with Stefan de Vrij, the new contract's coming. We're just, anytime soon, the next few weeks, we're going to fix the contract. We're just going to meet his agent this week and we'll get the contract.
Yeah. No similarity with the Luis Felipe situation, not at all.
Yeah. Lucas Biglia, same kind of thing, wasn't it? Yeah. And then Lucas Biglia had to be given the captaincy to convince him to,
what a mistake.
Actually say not a captain. Oh, well. That's probably else, isn't it?
Yep. Alistair, I think we can wrap it up here, right? We had plenty of things to talk about. And there's Venezia Lazio coming up without Ciro Immobile, probably. So,
difficult.
Yeah, very difficult. So, very important match for Lazio. Ending the year with a victory. 3 points would be massive for us. So we're going to cross fingers. Again, everybody, thanks for listening. Remember, you can find us even on Twitch now. Lazio World account. You can find us on Spotify, Spreaker, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. We are here. Please rate and review the podcast on iTunes. And if you want to support us, patreon.com/Lazio Lounge. Membership starts at $2 a month. Bye, Alistair.
Ciao, ciao.